Welcome to the Resource Nexus Podcast. For more insights, you can check out the full article and stats on the resourcenexus.com. Today we're diving into the players who are flying under the radar this season, the sleepers, the quietly efficient, the guys whose numbers scream potential, even if the headlines aren't paying attention. College basketball sleepers are honestly way more fun to spotlight than the overhyped stars. You get to shine a light on players who might not have the media buzz, but who are posting strong metrics and showing value that national rankings just aren't catching. From high upside freshmen to transfers making efficient impacts, these are the guys who could surprise fans, shake up bracket predictions, or just straight up become breakout stars of the season. Consider this a national stage shout out to the underrated players who deserve more hype, and whose stats suggest they just might prove the doubters wrong. Now, a quick note on our rankings. These include both human and computer polls released so far. There may be additional lists later in the season which could bring in new names or shake things up, but for now we're focusing on players consistently underappreciated across both ranking systems. And yes, some rankings are so far off that they aren't even worth including. Seriously, sometimes you look at a list and think, what planet are we on? Take these examples. Otega Owa barely cracks the top 50 in a computer ranking. Chad Baker Mazzara doesn't even show up in the top 100 human rankings. Jason Edwards is nearly 300 in a computer poll. Nick Martinelli, over 200 in a computer poll. Awaka, 150 plus in a human poll. Often either the human or the computer ranking gets it somewhat right, but rarely do both line up. In this article, we're zeroing in on players undervalued by both systems, cutting out the noise where just one ranking misses the mark. So strap in, because we're about to highlight the names that might just make you look like a genius come March. All right, let's jump into some transfer and sleeper standouts for 2025 to 26. These are the guys quietly putting up insane numbers, but for some reason the spotlight just isn't on them yet. KeShawn Murphy, Auburn. KeShawn Murphy might be the single most underrated player in college basketball, and the numbers absolutely back it up. My model ranks him number 21 nationally, while a major human ranking barely had him in the top 100, and another computer formula placed him outside the top 210. That's a massive disconnect. At Mississippi State, Murphy quietly averaged 11.7 points, 7.4 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 1.1 blocks. It's all in just 24 minutes per game, posting an elite 24.8 PER, even higher in SEC play, and a 57.3 EFG percent, despite operating in one of the nation's worst perimeter offenses. To really put his production in context, compare him to Yaxel Lendeborg, a player some ranked top 2 to 3 nationally. On a per 100 possessions basis, Murphy's numbers: 28.0 points, 17.6 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 2.2 steals, 2.7 blocks, mirror Lendeborg's. Their true shooting rates, .58, 3 versus .592, and usage, 23.9 versus 23.4, are nearly identical. The difference, Lendeborg posted those stats against the 140th ranked SOS, while Murphy did it against the 19th ranked SOS, all in a broken offensive system with poor spacing. In a year when all the top-tier strength was concentrated in the SEC, the top 35 teams faced strength of schedules as tough as the top 3 teams in most typical years. That can't be understated. Just how elite the top 40 SOS really were, even compared to what we'd consider a normal season. These teams were battling top competition nearly every night, which makes evaluating players and team performance even more fascinating. Freed from Chris Jan's system, Murphy looked poised to explode, though the retirement of Pearl at Auburn may impact him. Regardless, the analytics paint him as a top 25 player nationally, even if no one has noticed yet. Pharrel Payne, Maryland. Next up, Pharrel Payne, the definition of a statistical monster hiding in plain sight. My model ranks him number 28 nationally, yet he doesn't appear in the top 150 of any major human ranking and sits 240 plus in another computer model, a discrepancy so wide It's almost laughable. Despite limited minutes, Payne put up 10.4 points, 5.1 rebounds, 64.6% against a top 10 SOS, all while averaging barely 20 minutes per game. His 25.1 PER and 64.6 EFG percent show elite-level efficiency, numbers that would explode if a coach actually played him 30-plus minutes. This is a prime example of groupthink dominating national rankings. Outlets unanimously slot Nathan George in transfer rankings, but they've ignored a 6'9", 255-pound forward who destroyed high major competition per possession. Payne's omission from any list is egregious. All right, let's keep the spotlight on some players quietly dominating the numbers, even if the national rankings are lagging behind. Nathan Bittle, Oregon. Nathan Bittle isn't quite as misranked as some, but he's quietly put together one of the most efficient two-way seasons in the country. At 7 feet 0 inches, he averaged 14.2 points, 7.6 rebounds, 1.9 assists on 51.1% shooting, including 33.6% from 3 and 81.1% from the line. With a 25.5 PER, 56.1 EFG percent, and nearly 5 win shares, Bittle's production stacks up with any big in college basketball, all against the 18th best SOS and anchoring the 21st best defense. My model ranks him number 3 nationally. Another computer formula has him 17th. One human list had him top 25, and another left him completely outside the top 100. Statistically, that's indefensible. Bittle combines elite efficiency and defensive impact and could easily be an All-American with a stronger supporting cast. Nolan Winter with Wisconsin. Next, Nolan Winter, a guy whose efficiency metrics quietly outpace his box score perception. My model ranks him number 31 nationally compared to a human rank in the 100 to 150 range and a computer rank around 80. At first glance, it might seem generous for a player averaging 9.4 points and 5.8 rebounds in 21 minutes per game, but dig deeper. 135 offensive rating, 23.1%, 4.1 win shares, 35.8% three-point shooting, and low turnovers. Winter posted all this against a top 25 SOS, showing elite efficiency for any rotation player, let alone a sophomore big on a balanced Wisconsin team. His numbers make him one of the quietly most valuable frontcourt players in the Big Ten and nationally. Malik Dia, Ole Miss. Then we got Malik Dia, another under-the-radar impact player, the type whose advanced metrics scream, "Play me more." My model ranks him number 51 nationally compared to 150 plus in human rankings and 191 in another computer model. Last season at Ole Miss, Dia averaged 10.8 points, 5.7 rebounds, 46.7% field goal, 34.5% from 3, 21.7%, while playing a pivotal role on a team that finished 22nd nationally and improved defensively by over 100 spots, despite losing a former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year and a 7-5 shot-blocking leader now in the NBA. Dia's floor spacing ability and defensive versatility make him a natural fit alongside Scott in the front court. If Ole Miss unleashes him for heavier minutes, he's not just a contributor, he's a potential top 30 player nationally, hiding in plain sight behind underappreciated analytics. Vin Allen Lubin, NC State. Finally, Vin Allen Lubin, one of those players whose numbers scream all conference, even if the narrative hasn't caught up. My model ranks him as an elite forward, despite him being used as more of a role player for much of the season. 23.1 PER, 71% true shooting in ACC play. Averaged 13.7 points, 7.2 rebounds, 2 stocks per game in just 24 minutes down the stretch. Team went 8-3 in that span, including tough losses to Duke. Posted the team's best defensive rating, despite smaller teammates. Lubin's 7-foot wingspan, switchable defense, and elite finishing make him a modern forward who can carry efficient lineups without heavy touches. At 25 points per 100 possessions on nearly 70% true shooting, his per-possession production is almost identical to Yaxel Lendeborg, but against incomparably tougher competition. If Will Wade gives him 25 to 30 minutes, Lubin could vault into all ACC contention and force a reevaluation of why he wasn't unleashed sooner. All right, let's highlight another under-the-radar domestic player before we jump into the internationals. Devin Royal, Ohio State. Devin Royal has quietly emerged as one of the Big Ten's most efficient forwards. My model ranks him number 25 nationally, yet most other services barely have him inside the top 100. Royal averaged 13.7 points, 6.9 rebounds, 20.8%, 52.5% shooting. And he did it against stiff competition, making him a quietly impactful player who deserves far more attention than he currently receives. And now, let's zoom out and look at some of the top international sleepers, because if you thought domestic sleepers were undervalued, the international scene is a goldmine. Top internationals. Several international players are flying completely under the radar. Based on first-year stat translations from professional leagues, it's clear that Sananda Fru, Hannes Steinbach, Mario Saint-Supery, Thijs de Ridder, and Ruben Dominguez were all severely undervalued by both human rankings and traditional computer systems, if my translations are even close to accurate. Discrepancies in rankings. The differences are staggering. Sananda Fru. Translated stats suggest top-of-class potential, yet humans had him barely in the 100 to 150 range, and computers placed him outside the top 500. Hannes Steinbach. Humans projected him 100 to 150, but computers barely had him in the top 350. Mario Saint-Supery, playing in Spain's ACB, the second strongest league globally, posted a PER of 18 in just 15 minutes per game, yet human rankings placed him completely outside the top 150, and computers pegged him at 610. Thijs de Ridder and Ruben Dominguez suffered similar underestimation, with per-possession production far exceeding their rankings. First-year translations and performance. This is my first attempt at translating international leagues into NCAA equivalents, and while there's some uncertainty, the numbers are compelling. Fru averaged 12.4 points with a 23.1 PER in Germany's BBL, a league filled with prime-age professional talent, including former NCAA stars and all-conference veterans. Steinbach posted nearly identical PER in the same league, showing strength and reliability. Saint-Supery, in the ACB, averaged 8.3 points and 2.1 assists in 14.7 minutes against elite competition outside the NBA, more impressive than many domestic prospects putting up volume in weaker leagues. Spotlight on the BBL and ACB. The German BBL and Spain's ACB provide striking context for evaluating international prospects. Both leagues are packed with experienced, prime-aged talent. Players like Sananda Fru and Hannes Steinbach are standout examples, yet they've been widely undervalued. To put it in perspective, Fru averaged 12.4 points per game with a 23.1 PER, while Steinbach posted nearly identical efficiency, all against seasoned, prime-age competition. Consider Carson Edwards, a 27-year-old former NCAA 24 PPG star who averaged 14.9 points with a 16 PER in the BBL last year. Even compared to him, Fru and Steinbach's efficiency is impressive. Other recognizable professionals in the league, DJ Horn, Darius McGee, Tra Holder, Isaiah Cozart, Osun Osuni, DiMaggio Wiggins, Chuba Ohams, and Malik Osborne, are putting up 15/10 style production against high-level competition. Meanwhile, the ACB is even more stacked, with teams featuring 6 to 7 former NBA players per roster, providing context for why Mario Saint-Supery's efficiency, PER 18 in 15 minutes, is so meaningful. Production against that level of talent is far more impressive than comparable volume in weaker domestic leagues. The takeaway? Both the BBL and ACB are full of all-conference caliber talent. Yet many of their top performers, Fru, Steinbach, Saint-Supery, fly under the radar. Their translated stats suggest they could have immediate impact at the college level, and programs willing to invest in these undervalued players are likely to reap substantial rewards. Even conservative translations suggest these international players outperform much of the domestic talent currently ranked ahead of them. Fru and Steinbach in particular emerge as the sleepers of all sleepers, with efficiency and per-possession output capable of top 25 level contributions once given meaningful minutes. So what's the takeaway here? These international players are undervalued both statistically and perceptually. Traditional human rankings and computer models lag behind the data, but per-possession analysis and first-year translations highlight their upside. College programs that tap into talents like Sananda Fru, Hannes Steinbach, and Mario Saint-Supery early are likely to reap immediate rewards, both on the stat sheet and in team success. The value of looking beyond the rankings. College basketball is full of hidden talent, and both human and computer rankings frequently miss the players quietly reshaping the game, from domestic sleepers like KeShawn Murphy, Pharrel Payne, Nathan Bittle, Nolan Winter, Malik Dia, Vin Allen Lubin, and Devin Royal, to international standouts like Fru, Steinbach, Saint-Supery, Thais de Ritter, and Ruben Dominguez. The numbers tell a story that often diverges sharply from the hype. Advanced metrics, per-possession analysis, and first-year stat translations reveal players who are efficient, impactful, and ready to contribute at a high level, even if the mainstream media or traditional computer models haven't taken notice. These are the athletes who can shift team dynamics, surprise fans, and make significant impacts in national rankings and tournament play. The takeaway is simple. Don't rely solely on consensus rankings. By examining the underlying data, we can identify the sleepers, players whose production, efficiency, and potential put them in a tier that rankings haven't yet recognized. For coaches, analysts, and fans alike, keeping an eye on these undervalued contributors may be the key to spotting the breakout stars of the season. All right, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you got some good insights. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who'd find it useful. And don't forget to check out the resourcenexus.com for more in-depth analysis. Until next time, check you later.